Hell Let Loose, The Anatomy of a Defense, brought to you by LT Yakko. So, we are going to be looking at the Keratin defense on the offensive game mode. Now, before I begin, I just want to start with saying that these tips and strategies are not the end all be all strategy for planning a defense on Keratin. This is quite simply just the anatomy of a defense and the basically the bare minimum that any commander should be doing with planning a defense on Hell Let Loose. To start, you want to identify what your four main defense objectives are. As you can see here, it's going to be Blacktop, Ruins, Train Station, and Customs. This is key as you want to spawn at an HQ that allows you to drop supplies in the HQ area so engineers can build nodes while simultaneously being easy to access what your second to last and mid objectives are, as you will want to drop a supply truck for yourself and drive out to these objectives to get garrisons on them. Now, as you can see, we are starting off at the bottom HQ. Now, the reason for this is because looking at the big screen and the big map, I am wanting the enemy forces to be far away from my nodes as possible. I wanted it to be a very big inconvenience for them to go out and get my nodes. So you begin to spread out supply boxes at the bottom HQ so that your engineers can only have to worry about spawning in the HQ. You immediately have 150 supplies in order to build you all 3 nodes. Now, to start, I've also called in a supply drop, as you can see in the distance up there, as you cannot drop supplies out of the supply truck within the final 2 squares of the final objective. So instead of needing to worry about a support player making his way all the way up there, I can just use the supply drop and have supplies already there for me to handle. This is also especially helpful if you have a very active enemy recon team to avoid revealing next objective locations. Now, the first stop we are going to make is at the ruins. Now, where exactly you place this garrison is entirely up to you. Me, I tend to prefer speed on getting these fallback garrisons up more than, finding a very good hidey location to stick this garrison. So I'm going to go ahead and run in and plant this garrison and immediately head back to my supply truck. Now, be mindful of your supply drop cooldowns. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to place another supply drop behind the last objective to set up a secondary garrison for future use in case I need it. If your frontline objective can do without the supply drop, then I would recommend doing this for your final objective immediately. Otherwise, use your supply drops in order to help reinforce your current unlocked objective. So now coming up to train station, we're going to go ahead and get a garrison set up within the strong point of the objective. There isn't really a good spot to set a garrison up in here. So again, do what feels right for you, but just make sure that there's a garrison somewhere in the strong point. Once this is built, take a look at the map, and we can see how the network is starting to come along. Now, depending on the map, depending on the situation ultimately, you can either go and get back into your supply truck and now drive back to the HQ to refill your supply truck and get some more garrisons going, or you can immediately redeploy and head back to an HQ to spawn yourself another supply truck. Now in this instance, I've driven back to the HQ and refilled my supply truck. I'm going to go ahead and save you the time of watching that footage, and we're going to go and watch where I'm going to place the garrisons. Now, I'm going to wait until we finish, and then I'm going to explain why I placed these garrisons in the locations that I did. As keep in mind, garrisons have to be 200 meters apart. However, I placed my garrisons a little bit farther away than that, but I have very specific reasons. So, as you can see, I've established a secondary garrison about almost 240 meters, maybe a little bit more west of ruins. And then I've also established a secondary garrison south of ruins. Now, the main reasons why I've established my garrisons in this sort of pattern is because, for starters, garrisons in locked territory are slow burn garrisons. Recon cannot go farther out than 2 grid squares. So even if they take out the train station garrison, my garrison south of ruins will stay unlocked and recon cannot reach it. So the garrison south of ruins is simultaneously supporting the train station objective and the ruins. Then you have my garrison west of ruins operating in a similar fashion. Should we lose customs and train station becomes the unlocked objective, and ruins is the now objective we gotta support. So, where does that leave us? That leaves us at about 4 out of 8 garrisons set so far. So the other 4 garrisons is going to be up to the commander for placement. You can place a garrison on your final objective. You can place more garrisons as secondaries for your other objectives. You can max out the amount of garrisons around your middle objective. And hopefully somebody has established a garrison on the current objective that your players are actively fighting over. So ultimately, at the end of the day, you get 8 slots for garrisons as a defensive commander. You should have 8 garrisons always deployed on the battlefield. So if you have opportunities for placing garrisons, place them. You want to place enough garrisons so that you will ultimately see this message. So, in summary, for a good defensive commander in 2026 Hell Let Loose, puts up garrisons on fallback objectives. A good commander doesn't make next objective obvious. Be in supply trucks. Use supply boxes to get your garrisons up. Use supply drops to either circumvent the Hell Let Loose restrictions or to help reinforce the point your soldiers are fighting over. And remember, you are the commander. Your role is to coordinate, support, and lead. Coordinate with your squad leads to replace garrisons on the active objective. Support your forces with commander powers. And lead your men by giving them spawn points should they lose the active objective you are fighting over. That is it for today. LT Yakko, signing out.